And good morning, Sheila. How are you this morning?
Wayne, I'm so excited to start our new season of our podcast.
Me too.
Yay.
Yes, golly. And welcome everyone to 27 Minutes with Sheila and Wayne, where we explore the fascinating world of verbs and their impact on our daily lives. Join us each week as we delve into the different ways that verbs shape our language and influence what we do, as we are attempting to make a positive difference in
Mm.
our world, one verb at a time. And Sheila, what is our verb for today?
Today's verb is all about finding connections and contrasts. The verb is to compare.
Ooh, do you have a definition for us?
I'm going to let you do the definitions, but let me guess. Today you have five. Nope, nope, three. Three.
No, you were right the first time.
Oh, go
As
always go with the first guess.
as my dad says, that's why there's erasers on pencils. Erase it. Okay, I do have five, and so here they are.
Okay.
Compare. To examine or look for the difference between two or more things. To judge, suggest, or consider that something is similar or of equal quality to something else. Here's my third one.
Mhm.
To represent as similar. Number four, to view in relation to. And five, to inflict or modify according to the degrees of comparison.
Mm.
Yes. And before we go any further, how can our listeners contact you with questions and
Why?
comments?
Thank you, Wayne. I can be reached at zekeandsheila@yahoo.com.
And I can be reached at Wayne at mindsyncing.com. And mindsyncing, as usual, is spelled MindSyncing.com. And yes, wow, we've been away for 2 weeks. I was waking up every Wednesday night thinking, oh my goodness, we have
Oh,
a podcast in the morning. And then I go, oh no, we don't.
oh.
We're taking a break. I've
It's
missed
nice to be
this.
back on schedule.
Yes, I have missed this. I have
Me
missed
too.
talking with you. Yes.
Thank you, Wayne. Me too.
Alrighty. Hey, and what were your thoughts when we came up with this word, this verb,
You
compare?
know, I first thought we're taught at such an early age to start comparing. Is this an apple or an orange? But I also learned a little fun fact that is that animals compare also. Birds compare nesting sites, and squirrels compare hiding spots for their acorns, and dogs compare, or at least mine does, which toy to bring to the door when someone's coming in the door. So it's like I saw a quote. It's like nature's review of Yelp reviews, nature's version of Yelp reviews. Also
Excellent.
about comparing.
I didn't know that about animals.
Yeah, yeah.
That very, very cool. Fun fact. I like that. All right. Well, and my initial thoughts, hey,
Yes.
I couldn't wait to discuss this verb
Great.
because like you said, it is something that all of us has done and do.
Consistently. Yeah.
Yes, yes, because we compare many things.
Hmm.
However,
Mm.
we most often compare ourselves to what? To others, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
So I went down a path. And I'm going to confess to the listening audience, I did not do my usual research. What I did was I internalized compare, and I internalized again what we all do all the time, comparing ourselves to others.
Mhm.
And I remember that I I did that, but I did that I think a little bit differently.
Oh,
And what I'm going to offer today is I'm going to offer my thoughts. This is just Wayne
okay.
Applewhite. I'm not a
Great.
psychologist. I'm not a sociologist. I'm not any of those ologist kinds of things. So please take what I'm saying with, this is not a study that has been verified,
Okay.
quantitatively. So,
I'll tell you what's interesting is after you kind of give us your information here, I'm going to talk about a study from Psychology Today that does go into at least social comparison theory. So it'll be really interesting to see how similar your experiences have been compared to what they're describing here.
Well, I can't wait for that.
Me too.
Yes. So, okay, and my, as you well know, my focus has typically been on leadership and followership.
Yes.
My
Yes.
whole life has been,
Yes.
I've been looking at leaders and followers, and as I watched and compared, I made many observations and quickly learned that to truly empathize and investigate what this comparison has really meant to me,
Hmm.
I needed to put techniques into immediate practice to test my hypotheses.
Oh, good.
Because you look at things, you go, "Oh, I think this will happen," or "I think this will happen," or "I think
Hmm.
this won't happen."
Hmm.
So what I did was, and thank goodness, I was surrounded by individuals and groups that allowed me to do just that. I put into practice things that I
Hmm.
was watching, observing, and learning along the way.
Okay.
And because I had such a, and I know a lot of people don't like this word, I had such a diverse background in career fields
Hmm.
because I've been in the customer service career field. I've been in the restaurant business. I've been in the medical business. I've been in the intelligence business. I've been in logistics. I've been project man. I've been teaching. I've done
Hmm.
corporate things. So I have
Hmm.
a lot of, I guess, small microorganisms that I looked at and compared,
Okay.
and I learned a lot. So anyway, here we go.
Okay.
Observing leaders and followers and the reactions that they encountered as they engaged with those that surrounded them was, in a word, breathtaking.
Mm.
And it was breathtaking because, my goodness, I learned something about myself and about what I was comparing. And what I did was, and I'm only going to say that this worked for me. I'm not going to say
Okay.
this is going to work for everybody, but it worked for me.
Hmm.
Here are some of my learning moments. Now, I'm going to give you five of them. And the first two are going to be changed on four and five. So,
Okay.
the first one was, I wanted to be a good leader. So I compared those that led me to what I thought to be good or bad practices.
Hmm.
And I started with leader because I learned early on that leadership was the place you wanted to be. I found that followership, to be a good leader, you need to be a good follower first.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I wanted to be a good follower, so I compared myself to my peers. And then it happened. Then it happened was number three.
Oh, okay.
So now the first one, I said I wanted to be a good leader.
Yep.
Number four is I wanted to be a better leader.
Ah,
So
okay.
so I compared those that led me to those that led others.
Uh-huh.
So I was no longer comparing myself to the leaders, I was
Right.
comparing leader to leader.
Right.
I want In number five, I wanted to be a better follower.
Ah,
So I compared my peers to others that followed someone else. So again, I wasn't comparing myself to my peers. I was
right.
comparing my peers to others groups peers, and to see how they interacted, how they engaged, how they communicated, how they did what they did.
Hmm.
And that changed the whole perspective for me, and that change was tremendous because it wasn't myopic anymore. It was now multifaceted,
Right.
and I was out of the loop.
Right.
I was on the outside looking in, or on the inside looking outward, if you will. And it changed my life. It did. It really, really did. Now I'm going to give you some examples,
Good.
but I'm going to first go to you and say, "Wow, how how close to that was your study?" I don't know. I probably missed the mark.
Oh, no, no. Well, no, I think you absolutely hit the mark on the positive way to compare because, first of all, they're talking about the fact that comparing oneself to others is a universal quality. And we've talked about even animals do it. It's
Yes.
across nationalities and cultures. Um, and often the domain that people use to compare themselves is attractiveness, wealth, intelligence, and success, as opposed to an external quality you're looking at, which is leading and following. According to some studies, as much as 10% of our thoughts involve comparisons of some kind. And the social comparison theory specifically is the idea that people determine their own social and personal worth based on how they stack up against others. So again, you're kind of overriding this when you go into points 3, 4, and 5, where you're looking at how the best practices of others,
Yes.
basically. So people, according to Leon Festinger, who developed this theory, it was really for positive purposes, but as further research happened, they found that your motivation to improve can increase, but you can also experience feelings of deep dissatisfaction, guilt, remorse, and engage in destructive behaviors. And that's when you're taking it too personally. So you're looking at it as an external system, and this is when someone takes it too far and it becomes internally damaging.
Okay.
So yay, you.
Okay. Wow. I dodged a bullet there.
Yes, you did. And then there's more information, but essentially, uh, it can help you when you use social networks to push yourself, to motivate yourself, to have a friendly competition, to make yourself better, as opposed to, um, finding yourself less than and it tiring you out and paralyzing you from making healthy changes.
Okay. Cool.
Oh,
And
and there's more, but I want to hear what you have to say.
okay, and I suggested that the change in perspective was tremendous for me
Uh-huh.
because it forced me to rethink how and why leaders or followers did what they did and why they did it. And when I
Okay.
taught leadership, I taught why leaders would do things as opposed to the techniques and tools that they use to do it. Because I didn't think that was teaching leadership. I think that was teaching tools and
Oh,
techniques.
right.
So I focused in on again why and
Yeah.
how leaders did it. So here's some of my examples that I came up
Good.
with and I put on
Okay.
paper. I compared leaders that occasionally communicated, if at all, to leaders that communicated greatly.
Okay.
And again, when I look at all these batches of leaders, some that didn't communicate and others that communicate all the time, and I look at the results, it was stunning. I,
Oh.
I compared leaders that mostly used fear tactics
Mm.
to leaders that used compassion, empathy, and still strength.
Mm-hmm.
They were still in charge, and woe be the person who didn't think that, but they were still in charge, but they used subtler mechanisms, if you
Mm-hmm.
will,
Mm-hmm.
to lead. I found that leaders that only heard themselves, or I compared leaders that only heard themselves to leaders that listened to others.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, wow, this is really kind of cool. And I thought I was onto something here.
Right.
And so I looked at leaders that kept some in the dark to leaders that shared their vision.
Mm.
It's like, and it was like day and night. And again, we're not talking about a leader to be a pushover for everybody else to just
Right.
abuse as they want. No, these
Right.
leaders are very firm and confident and have self efficacy to the nth degree. And yet they still vocalized, they still communicated, they still shared their visions, they still did those things that we would want people to do. And I thought, I, and again, this is going to number four. I wanted to be a better leader, not a good leader, a
Right.
better leader.
Right. We live in the time of bet.
Yes. Time.
Right. Right.
I compared, okay, I have four more. I'll just say this one. I'll get back to you, okay?
Okay.
I compared leaders that had no time for others to leaders that challenged, pushed,
Mm.
nudged, and helped others reach heights that those individuals did not think was possible. And it was just amazing to see the dichotomies that were out there and the okay, I'm going to say a word that I don't typically say, the transformation of the organization that I saw when these other things were put into place.
Hmm.
And I said, wow, to be a better leader, I have to do those kinds of things. I have three more on leaders, and then I have one, two, three, four, five, six, about six or seven about followers. But I want to get back to you because this is interesting to hear what your guys are saying, the ladies are saying that you did the research from.
Well, this is just, although I'm fascinated by what you're saying, and I just as soon toss what I have here, but I'll just throw in there's something called the better than average effect, which is it's widely been proven that people tend to think they are above average when it comes to desirable traits such as intelligence,
Huh.
but they might be somewhat more humble when they have to actually give themselves a specific percentile ratio. And also, two-thirds of Americans believe their intelligence is above average, but men are much more likely to inflate themselves than women.
Ooh.
So, more than 70% of men say they are smarter than average, and more than 60% of women, which is still pretty high. So, I'm not sure the statistical difference there.
Okay.
But anyway, there are more comparisons to self esteem, mental health, decision making, relationships, social media's role. But basically, when the damage happens is when you're thinking too much about yourself. And what I hear you doing is, again, looking externally and trying to see how what works and what doesn't. You're doing it in such a healthy way that I'm ready to set this aside and listen more to you.
No, you're too kind. Golly. Oh, but I will go on. And,
Yes.
I'm looking at the clock. We've got 11 minutes and 40 seconds left. Ooh, not much
Whoa.
time.
Okay.
So I compared leaders that bullied everyone
Mm,
to leaders that praised and helped others grow.
mhm.
I compared leaders that took all the credit from others to leaders that could not wait to praise those who did great things within their organizations. And again, just the turnaround was just so tremendous. I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to be able to do those kinds of things.
Right.
Lastly, my last example on leaders, I compared leaders who hid behind
Mm,
others
mhm,
to leaders that stepped in front for all to see.
mhm.
And that's the, hey, the buck stops here. I'm the one who
Right.
did it. I made that decision. I was wrong. I was right, whatever it was, but they stepped out there, while these other leaders, I saw some hiding behind their lawyers, hiding behind other people,
Mm,
hiding behind their COO, their operations
mm,
officers or
mhm,
whatever.
mhm.
And again, that was telling to me. And so on the other side, because again, as I said, I learned that I needed to be a follower, a better follower before I could be
Mhm.
a good leader. I compared followers that came for the paycheck
Mm,
to followers that came to accomplish good things. And I know we have all seen those individuals, both
yeah,
sides,
right.
and some in the middle. Obviously, I'm talking about extremes here, but I wish the extreme on the right side would kind of lend itself to go towards the middle. Um, eh, anyway, I'm getting excited, too excited. I compared followers that hid their mistakes to followers that owned their mistakes and
Mm,
offered ways to correct them.
mhm.
And there's a difference there.
Yes, there is.
I compared followers that called in sick so they could go fishing to followers that had to be told to go home because it was well after working hours. Now, some of those might not have been doing 100% all the time at work, and so they maybe needed to stay there. But
Uh-huh.
you know who I'm talking about,
Yeah.
and you were probably one of these people that somebody said, "Sheila, it's time to go."
Oh, I'm
I'll
so
see you.
glad. Phew, phew, safe. I thought you were going to put me in the other category.
I compared followers that complained about everything
Hmm.
to followers that offered to take on the challenges to make things better.
Hmm.
And again, it's just day and night. And
Yeah.
looking at those perspectives it was just so telling to me. Lastly, I compared followers that sabotaged the efforts of others to
Yeah.
followers that cheered others to greatness. And I said lastly, here's one more. My thumb was covering it up. I compared followers that knew they could not to followers that believed they could.
Ah.
A tremendous difference, a tremendous difference. And looking again at both of those, not myopically, but
Hmm.
multidimensional, was I, it made me want to go back and get more formal and informal education. It really did, because
Hmm.
I needed to know how that worked. How does this mechanism work? This is really cool. And if somebody could bottle this and sell it on the store
Yeah.
shelves, I just anyway. And again, this is what happened to me, and this is how I got better. And I'm not saying that this is going to work for everyone, but this is the way I saw things and still see things. And so those are just a few examples that led me to want to be better. Now, I have some other comments, but I'll save those for you until after you finish because I want to hear more about what you have to say as well. Please.
Well, Dr. Arna Arriga from the University of Texas at Austin talked about how can I stop comparing myself to others. So this is going back to the basics again, way beginner level compared to what you're describing here. And although we've already said that comparison can find improved motivation, your story here is an exact example of that. But also that people can experience dissatisfaction with themselves. So here are a couple strategies which I really liked, and one of them I'm going to give an example.
Okay.
The first one is seek connection, not comparison. And
Ooh.
so you can mindlessly scroll through your phone and look at what others are doing, but instead identify someone, send them a private message, and talk about shared experiences and start an actual connection instead of just a like button or something like that. And a friend of mine, the example is a friend of mine yesterday was saying that she sent an article that really meant a lot to her and wanted to be a springboard for discussion, and none of her siblings or friends responded back,
Oh
yay or
no.
nay. They didn't even. So now, boy, am I reading that article as
Uh-huh.
soon as I get a chance, instead of looking at Mars the baby pick me hippo on. Okay, the next one is practice gratitude. You and I have spoken a lot about this over time. But
Yes.
the action of expressing gratitude takes the sting away from any comparison where you might not measure up to in whatever category you're looking at. And instead, it makes you appreciate what you do have and what you're grateful for. And we've talked about starting each day by listing 3 things you feel grateful for. I have to tell people that happens even before the caffeine starts. Um, but this one suggests even ending the day by listing 3 things that happened during the day that you feel grateful for. And it just kind of changes your whole mindset.
Mm.
Finally, compare yourself only to yourself when it comes to your own actions. That can be motivating, empowering if you compare yourself to the progress and advancement you've made, like compare yourself to a version of yourself a month ago or 6 months ago or last year. Focus on how you've grown, how things have gotten better, what you've learned, opportunities that you've pursued more recently that you might not even have thought up in that previous time frame. And then the final one is make a list of your own qualities, which honestly sounded like too much work for me. So that tells you where my head is.
Okay.
Back to you, Wayne.
Okay. As I took all the information that I talked about, all the examples from leadership
Yes.
and followership,
Yes.
and using it, I hope it made me a better follower and a leader. And looking back, I realized something about myself.
All right.
I compared myself from when I was a teenager and a young adult to
Uh-huh.
where I landed some 30 years later.
Okay.
And I noticed something.
Okay.
Now we talked about react a couple of weeks ago.
We did.
I used to react to situations,
Ah.
challenges, and obstacles. Now I respond to them,
Okay.
which means I pause,
Yay.
I breathe,
Yep.
I evaluate, I ask, and then I act. Now,
Nice.
depending on the situation, that response could be seconds or it could be days.
Right.
But I choose to do those kinds of things, not those knee jerk reactions that you and I talked about in one of our previous podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, I compared 2 other points of context to this thought process. And you just said it with seeking connection, not
Yeah.
comparison.
Yeah.
I compared professional settings or personal settings and found that the two are closely related because we are speaking of relationships which we
Mm.
have at work and at play, not the myopic me ship.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, again, that was so. And I enjoyed what you said about seeking connection, not comparison,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all about relationships, isn't it?
It really is.
I think it is. And I'm looking at the clock. We have lots of time. 3:16, and I hear you have a shout out. coming up?
I do. Lynn from Tennessee. Thank you for being a faithful listener.
Thanks,
And
Lynn.
yay, appreciate your support and glad that you're getting something out of it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Golly. And I understand we're going to have a guest on next week.
We are. She's been a previous host as well, co-host. And so we're really looking forward to talking to Meredith again.
Yay! All right, Meredith Hancock. Okay, I will be calling her after this to finalize that. But Meredith, if you're
Oh,
listening, hey, we're looking forward to next week.
yay. Yes, we
Yay!
are.
Yes. Anyway, 2 minutes left, my friend. I will leave it to you because I'm done.
Okay.
I'm yes.
Well, I've got two little quotes and a summary. How's that?
Oh, I like it.
Okay, let me find those two little quotes, which I set aside here. You know, this is the trouble with printing out my paper.
Uh
Well, one
huh.
is Theodore Roosevelt, who
Okay.
is talking about comparing yourself as a joy stealer. That's not his exact words, but I really liked that emphasis because it's a choice to let it steal your joy or to let it inspire gratitude. And you've been kind of leaning on the gratitude side. And if I have a choice to make, if I'm not reacting, if I'm acting instead of reacting, I want to choose gratitude instead.
Excellent.
So, and the other quote is also on page one, which is lost on my desk. So I wanted to thank you for another little tool you said, which was relationship versus me-ship. And thank you for that, Wayne. And thank you also for sharing your experiences here. I won't say your thoughts because they are your experiences, and it makes me want to be a better follower and leader too. So I appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And again, those are just mine. It may not work for
Yep.
everyone, but it certainly worked for me.
I have a
It.
hunch it's going to work for most.
Okay. Thanks, Sheila. Thoroughly enjoy our time on Thursdays. I
As
really
do
do.
I, Wayne. Thanks for this new season together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Okay. Thanks,
And
everyone.
thanks, folks, for listening.
Yeah.
Without you, it wouldn't be nearly as much fun.
Right.
We'd still do it.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sheila.
Thank Wayne. Bye bye.
Bye bye.